The Iranian regime is officially begging for mercy. Just days after screaming at US diplomats and refusing a historic peace deal, Tehran's surviving leaders are now desperately crawling back to the negotiating table. But it may be too little too late. The Islamic Republic's military is in a state of total humiliating collapse. Elite commanders are actively threatening a massive mutiny, and terrified soldiers are literally using fake passports to flee across the border to Afghanistan. As President Trump just brutally reminded the world, the people Iran originally sent to negotiate are no longer alive. The regime has completely imploded, and our story starts with their desperate plea for a ceasefire.
Speaking to one outlet this morning, the president said the nation's potential new leadership, quote, want to talk, and I have agreed to talk, so I will be talking to them. They should have done it sooner. They should have given what was very practical and easy to do sooner. They waited too long. End of quote from President Trump.
Wall Street Journal reports that Iran's new security chief, Ali Larijani, the man who's now running the country, has made a fresh push to resume nuclear talks through mediators in Oman. Talking to Atlantic, President Trump himself confirmed that talks might happen, but he refused to confirm when the talks might happen. On top of this, he also pointed out a big problem, and I'll just quote what he said. Most of the people are gone. Some of the people we were dealing with are gone because that was a big hit. They should have done it sooner. They should have made a deal. They played a little too cute. Atlantic also reported that Iran is willing to give up a lot to make sure there's a peace deal, or I guess a ceasefire. Iran has reportedly agreed to recognize the United States, give up on destroying Israel, and relax social laws in order to reach peace with the US. But it doesn't seem like that Trump is in any hurry to agree to a peace deal. Talking to ABC's Jonathan Karl, President Trump talked about the death of Ayatollah Khamenei. He said, "I got him before he got me. They tried twice. Well, I got him first." I'm guessing this was in reference to Iran's assassination plots against President Trump during the 2024 presidential campaign. Trump also talked about who might take over Iran after regime change. He said, and I quote, "The attack was so successful that it knocked out most of the candidates. It's not going to be anyone that we were thinking because they're all dead. Second and third place are dead too." Now, this comment does kind of hint at that the US is looking for a Venezuela type situation, where they don't want the whole regime to disappear, but rather have someone from the regime take over who's a lot more friendly to the United States. But Trump isn't just conducting military strikes, he's also making an offer to anyone inside Iran who wants to switch sides. Take a listen to this offer.
To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms, you will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death.
Trump has put out an open call to IRGC members, police officers, and anyone in the regime. Defect now and receive full immunity. Now, as of right now, this might just be talk. There are no US troops on the ground, and the opposition inside Iran has been wiped out, either arrested, executed, or forced into exile. There is no organized force for defectors to join. No obvious way to contact the US and make a deal. But something is happening inside the IRGC and is significant. Now, every time we try to talk about IRGC and the truth about how this terrorist organization operates, we have IRGC bots bombarding our videos with dislikes and downvotes. That's why if you guys can just take a second, hit that like button and subscribe button down below, it really does help us out in counteracting these bots. We are now getting reports of serious breakdown inside Iran's military, including active mutiny. The Iranian foreign minister accidentally admitted this on television that military is losing commanders left and right.
We've just reported that 40 senior commanders were killed in the first minutes of the strike. How much damage has this done to your military infrastructure?
Well, we have lost some commanders, that is a fact, and the names are already announced. But another fact is that nothing has changed in our military capability. This is exactly what happened last time. You remember in June when Israel attacked us, they killed some of our top commanders at the beginning of the strikes, but they were replaced very soon. And in less than 12 hours, we were able to start retaliation. This time, it was even, faster. In less than 2 hours, we started to retaliate by attacking, Israeli targets and American bases in the region. And we have continued to do so.
Now, this was within the first 24 hours of the war. But over the next 24 hours, or I guess over the next few days, the number of commanders that Iran has lost has climbed very, very high. Here we have President Trump confirming this himself to reporters. Take a listen.
Yeah, Dana and Bill, good morning. I just got off the phone with the president. He is very pleased with how things are going. Obviously, is disheartened about the loss of life, and there may be more, he said, along the way. But as far as the progress, he said they are ahead of where they thought they would be. I want to read some of these quotes that I asked him and how he answered. He said that as far as a plan, they do have a plan, always had a plan. The intelligence, the level of intelligence that they've had up until this point is truly amazing. I asked, so what you're saying is that there is somebody on the ground in Iran that is going to rise up. Quote, yeah, I feel there is. I feel that, and some of them are no longer with us, to be honest, because it was 49 leaders that were taken out. That was going to take 4 weeks, we thought, to get rid of the Iranian leadership. And it's always, if they hide, it's a lot longer than 4 weeks. And they would have been hiding. We were shocked when we heard what was going on. We knew exactly what was happening and where. 49 leaders. And, they're talking about using people now that nobody ever heard of, even though they don't know. They're using people, studying people to be the leader that even they don't know who they are. Can you believe that? I said, it's a tough succession plan in Iran. He said 49 leaders is deep. It's very deep. When they met for breakfast. They assumed it was good for a lot of reasons. Number one, they didn't think we knew, but you never attack in the morning, having to do with winds and sun and a lot of things. It was amazing that we knew everything we knew.
On top of all this, we can tell from other reports that the military is literally falling apart from the inside. According to a reliable intelligence source, there's a serious breakdown in the chain of command driven by an active mutiny within the IRGC. A group of key field commanders are threatening to go public and announce their defection if Iran's Leadership Council fails to deliver a political solution. Now, this could be why Iran is suddenly pushing to resume talks, according to reports. Now, there is an important caveat to this whole thing that's important to point out. We do have a Twitter account that claims to be Ali Larijani from Iran. That account recently claimed that Iran will not negotiate with the United States. That statement was in direct response to the Wall Street Journal report that says that Larijani himself reached out to the US through Omanis to basically open the dialogue. Now, there are a lot of people just spreading misinformation, so this could be just a fake account that people think is a real account. We don't know for sure, but I think it's important to point out because a lot of people are taking this statement very seriously. But even if this is true, it's also important to remember that Iran is never gonna publicly say, hey, we are ready to negotiate a ceasefire because our leader is dead. You just can't expect that. But in reality, things are truly falling apart inside Iran. It's not just commanders who are considering defections. We have ordinary IRGC members fleeing the country. We have videos coming out from Iranian border regions showing IRGC members crossing the border into Afghanistan using disguises and fake passports. They're fleeing because they know what awaits them if they continue to fight. They rather escape to Afghanistan, one of the most dangerous countries on earth, than keep fighting inside Iran. That tells you everything about the morale inside the IRGC. Now, let me explain how we got here, because we have some new details about the failed negotiations that took place before this war started. And these details reveal that Iran was never actually serious about a negotiated deal. According to the US side, America offered one of the most generous deals possible. All US wanted was zero enrichment capabilities inside Iran, and in exchange for this, US was willing to provide enriched uranium for 10 years for completely free. That way, Iran can continue its nuclear energy program without actually having the ability to enrich uranium itself. All they had to do is accept, but they refused. At that point, the US realized that Iran had no intentions of giving up enrichment, and that's why they had no intentions of abandoning nuclear ambitions. They just wanted to drag out negotiations as long as possible, the same strategy they've been using for the last 10 years. And this is when things got even worse. After hearing US demands, the Iranian foreign minister began yelling at US envoy Steve Witkoff during the talks. Witkoff was accompanied by Jared Kushner and others at this meeting. At one point, Witkoff stood off and said, "If you prefer, I can just leave." That's how seriously Iran was taking negotiations. They weren't negotiating, they were just stalling. This is the same point the Pentagon re-emphasized this morning. Iran was never going to give up its nuclear ambitions voluntarily. Here's Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth explaining what the US knew about Iran's nuclear intentions. Take a listen.
The Iranian leadership has built nothing except proxies and missiles and drones and deeply buried nuclear factories and facilities. Peaceful nuclear ambitions do not need to be buried underneath mountains.
And then we have Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dane Kane, explaining exactly how this operation started and what comes next. What are the US objectives? Take a listen because this is important.
On February 28th, the full strength of America's armed forces came together in a unified purpose against a capable and determined adversary. The United States Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Space Force, Coast Guard, and our reserve components integrated across our combatant commands and began coordinated operations with the Israeli armed forces of an unprecedented scale. As the Secretary laid out, our military objectives are clear. Our mission is to protect and defend ourselves and, together with our regional partners, prevent Iran from the ability to project power outside of its borders, and be ready for follow-on actions as appropriate. Across every domain, land, air, sea, cyber, the U.S. Joint Force delivered synchronized and layered effects designed to disrupt, degrade, deny, and destroy Iran's ability to conduct and sustain combat operations. On the U.S. side, this marked the culmination of months and in some cases years of deliberate planning and refinement against this particular target set. From precision strikes against key military infrastructure to persistent intelligence and targeting integration to the close coordination of the components across vast distances, this operation again demonstrated America's reach, readiness, and professionalism, and that of our joint united force. It was historic not only in the operational scope, but in the level of joint integration displayed across every element of the joint force. And as I said earlier, this work is just beginning and will continue.